everyone, welcome to my channel. So today's video is quite different than my normal videos in that I will not actually be reviewing any makeup products. Instead, because it's been almost a year since I started my channel, and if I time things correctly, this should be my 100th YouTube video. So I wanted to take this as an opportunity to share with all of you some lessons and reflections I've had over the past year of being on YouTube. So everyone's experience on YouTube is quite different, so I'm not saying that if you start a channel today, this would actually be your experience, but I feel like people often don't know much about the behind the scenes of being a beauty content creator. So I thought it would be fun to kind of peel back the curtain and just share with all of you some of the stuff that goes into having a beauty channel on YouTube. If you are a content creator yourself, I would love to hear in the comments down below if any of my experiences have resonated with you, or if you've had really different experiences in any of these areas. And for those of you who aren't content creators, hopefully this just gives you a little bit more information about what it's like behind the scenes. Overall, these are not so much lessons for people who are starting a new channel necessarily, because again, your experience might be very different from mine. Instead, you can think of this as lessons I would give myself if I could talk to her a year ago about what's to come. So without further ado, let's get into these lessons/reflections. So I have quite a few topics to talk about today, so I've actually grouped them into a few categories. First, I'll be chatting about monetization, and then engagement, and then content, and then filming. As always, I'll have detailed timestamps in the description box in case you want to hop around. So first off, I wanted to chat about monetization because this is definitely the area of YouTube that I was most unfamiliar with when I started my channel. That might seem kind of surprising to some of you, but for me, I started my channel very much as a hobby, so I wasn't really thinking about how do I monetize any of my content. The history of my channel is actually that around the time COVID started, I picked up as a new hobby filming myself doing makeup looks and talking about some of the new makeup products that I was trying out. And at the time, I wasn't editing or uploading any of this content to YouTube. It was more kind of like a personal video diary where I could just kind of keep track of the looks that I was doing and my impressions about the products. After doing this for several months though, I figured if I'm filming some videos anyway, why not share them on YouTube, since I know personally it's really hard sometimes to find good shade matches on YouTube or find people who have a similar face structure, skin tone, anything like that. And so it's always helpful just to have more perspectives and more diverse perspectives on YouTube. And so I thought, well, I'll just start putting out some content out there and see if anyone wants to watch it. And so I started my channel on December 29th, 2020, and uploaded my first video the day afterward. Because I was starting this channel super casually, I had no idea if I was really going to keep it up and produce more content. I really didn't tell anybody in my life other than my partner that I was creating this channel. And so my channel really started from rock bottom, absolutely 0 subscribers, 0 followers. Honestly, for a while, it was kind of sad. There were maybe only 10 views on some of my initial videos during the first few weeks, and a lot of the comments were just like bots that were spamming my video. So that's how my channel started. And so I'm really excited that since then my channel has actually grown a lot. I now have around 800 subscribers on YouTube, and I do post very regularly, at least once a week. So I've been proud of myself for keeping that posting schedule up. But it might actually come as a surprise to you all that I actually have not made a single penny off of YouTube so far. Even though I have around 800 subscribers and my channel has gotten 55,000 views, monetization is still something that's very new to me. And so that's why I first wanted to just chat about the monetization structure of YouTube, since I know for a lot of people starting out on the platform, it's kind of hard to find good quality information about this. And I'm also definitely not an expert on this, but I thought at least I would share what I know. So the first lesson in the monetization category is don't count on ad revenue as your main way of monetizing. So I know for me personally as a viewer, before I started my channel, I assumed that most YouTubers primarily made money off of ad revenue. The truth of the matter, though, is that monetization through ad revenue is actually not that easy. So first off, you need to have at least 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 views on your channel in order to be eligible to receive any ad revenue whatsoever. And so of course for my channel, I'm still below that 1,000 subscriber mark. And so as a result, I have not actually been invited yet to participate in YouTube's ad revenue program. Some of you might be surprised about this because there are YouTube ads on my videos, but just so you know, none of the ad revenue from those videos actually goes to me. Now that might seem a little unfair, but honestly, it's not that big of a deal currently because the reality of YouTube ads is even if you are monetizing through them, you only make a few dollars per 1,000 views on your videos. One stat that I read online is that YouTubers on average make $3 to $5 per 1,000 ads. So for me, that would mean even if YouTube paid me for those 55,000 views that I've gotten, that would only translate to around $150 to $250 for an entire year of work. And so ad revenue is pretty small. Unless you have millions of people watching your videos, it's hard to even make minimum wage off of ad revenue alone. So that brings me to the second lesson within monetization, which is that if you are doing anything in the product review space, probably most of your money, especially when you're starting out, will come from affiliate links. So what are affiliate links? So basically these are links to a retailer's website such that if someone clicks on your link and then purchases something on that website within a certain period of time, you will get a small commission on that order. Usually the commission ranges between 1% to 8%, and if you're using an affiliate network, which combines a lot of different retailers together, then usually that network will take a certain cut of the commission. So if you watch a lot of beauty YouTubers, you'll often see in their description boxes links to the products they talk about. Those links are typically affiliate links. And also if they do any sort of post about a sale going on or some products they've been loving, the links in those posts will generally also be affiliate links. And so for most beauty YouTubers, affiliate links are a major revenue source. You can start getting affiliate links even before you reach the 1,000 subscriber mark on YouTube, which means it's often the first form of monetization for most beauty YouTubers. That said, not everyone can get affiliate links, and in particular, not everyone can get affiliate links with every affiliate network. The affiliate networks will have usually a short application process where you share a bit about your channel, and then someone will go check out your channel and see if it meets their requirements. And affiliate networks vary widely in terms of their requirements. For some of them, you can sign up even if you're a really small creator. Others do expect you to have at least 1,000 subscribers already. Again, that might seem a little bit unfair, but the reality is that if you don't have thousands of subscribers, you probably won't be making much money off of your affiliate links anyway. Because for example, if you only have 100 views on one of your videos, the chances that any of those 100 people are actually going to click on your affiliate link and then actually purchase the product are pretty low. And even if they do purchase a product, you'll only get such a small percentage of it that at most it'll translate into a few dollars per video. So up until now, I have not had any affiliate links on my channel. But one thing that I wanted to share with all of you that is a very exciting announcement is that starting this month, so this is December 2021, I actually signed up for a couple affiliate networks and I actually got approved. So this is really exciting for me because this means I can start doing at least some small monetization on my channel. Given how small my channel is, I don't anticipate this will translate to more than a few dollars per video, but it still does feel like a big milestone for me because, as I mentioned, at this point I have made 100 videos for free on YouTube and literally not gotten a penny from them. And that is fine to me overall. Like I said, this is a hobby for me. Even before I started this channel, I did like filming makeup content just for my own personal enjoyment. But as I will talk about later in today's video, making YouTube content is quite time intensive and expensive, much more so than if you're just doing this casually for your own personal enjoyment. So my personal dream with my affiliate links is that I can eventually get to the point where the channel pays for itself more or less. I don't ever anticipate actually making money off of this channel. I mean, even getting to the point where I am making minimum wage off this channel would require way, way, way more subscribers. And that's fine for me. I'm not really trying to make this a really lucrative enterprise. But I'm hoping that through these affiliate links that I can at least start to cover some of the costs of putting out the content. So all of this is to say you will start seeing some affiliate links in my description boxes. As always, you never have any obligation to click on them or to shop through them. You can certainly just go to the websites directly instead of clicking on my links, and there are no hard feelings whatsoever. But if you are interested in supporting my channel, this is now a way where you actually can do so. And I really appreciate any of you who do decide to shop through my affiliate links. So the last item I wanted to talk about in the monetization category is sponsorships, PR, and in general, relationships with brands. So overall, I would say my understanding is that this is not really something you need to really think a ton about or worry about until you are more so in the 10,000 subscriber mark. Most brands won't really be interested in reaching out with you and working with you until you already have a pretty decent following. My understanding with PR is that that can happen sooner. Personally, I have never received any PR, so I would at least say if you're below the 1,000 mark, that's probably not going to happen. But brands will definitely start sending you free stuff before they actually partner with you and pay you any money. One thing I did want to note though, if you are really interested in pursuing sponsorships and brand relationships, is that Instagram is a platform that is really worth investing in. So this is definitely a do as I say, not as I do sort of situation. I only have 60 followers on Instagram, so I have the teeniest, tiniest Instagram account ever. But I do think that if you're trying to get attention from brands, just having a YouTube channel alone is probably going to be insufficient. Instagram is better suited to actually interacting with brands because you can tag them directly in your posts. And it's not uncommon for brands to share your stories or posts featuring their products. And so if you want to have brands know who you are and start engaging with your content, building out a strong Instagram presence is a good way to go. So moving along from monetization, let's talk about engagement. So engagement on YouTube refers to people actually interacting with your content. So this is views, comments, likes, subscribers, anything someone can do to just indicate that they're actually interested in or enjoy your content. And this is both extremely important if you're going for monetization, because basically everything in the monetization space is completely dependent on your engagement numbers. But also it's important, I would say, just for you as a person creating content, because there's really nothing more depressing than just uploading a lot of videos that you spent a ton of time working on, and then it's just crickets. Like, no one clicks on your video, no one likes it, no one says anything in the comment section. It's very demotivating and really saddening. That said, engagement is not very straightforward, so I thought I would share some of the lessons that I've learned over the past year. So first off, I would say the hardest part of being a new content creator is the cold start problem. Essentially, everything with engagement is exponential, and what that means is the more engagement you have, not only the more does it beget, but at a faster rate. So if you are absolutely at zero, you have 0 subscribers, 0 people regularly watching your videos, it is really hard to get to the point from 0 where anybody is watching your videos. And as your channel grows, every additional subscriber will come a little bit more easily. This does suck when you start out though, and that was the case for me because my channel has been completely organic growth. There are things you can do to help with the cold start problem, like some people actually buy ads to promote their content on Instagram or YouTube. Some people do big giveaways, so that instantly gets a lot of folks to look at your video. Some people will go out on YouTube or Instagram and subscribe or follow a lot of other people and hope that they will check out their channel and subscribe or follow them back. Personally, I did not do any of these things, and I don't necessarily recommend you do these things. I'm not really sure how well they work. That said, the truth is organic growth is hard, and I don't really have many answers to that. But I did want to just share that with you all because if you are starting a channel, you might feel really alone at the beginning and wonder, are you doing something wrong? Why is no one watching your videos? So I just wanted to share that I think that's just how things are if you are trying to grow the natural way. And eventually you can get beyond that to some extent. The next lesson I learned about engagement is not so much about how to get engagement, but the nature of the comments and engagement that you'll get. So probably the thing that has surprised me the most about YouTube is that overwhelmingly, people are actually really nice on YouTube and in comment sections. I know the stereotype is that the internet is a terrible place and there's just like all these trolls and terrible people who are just saying mean things, and if you put yourself out there on the internet, you're just gonna get slammed with all of these hateful comments. I have been really surprised and pleased though with how overall the engagement that I've seen has been really positive, and people have been really nice and really thoughtful in their comments. I have had some trolls, especially at the beginning, and also some folks who have been rude or mean, but overwhelmingly, everyone has been really nice and supportive. And I wanted to share that because I think that is one of the scariest parts of starting a channel. Especially at the very beginning, you might get a lot of bots visiting your channel because you have no subscribers, and so it's just some automated bots that might post some clickbait or offensive comments. Once you move beyond that phase though and actually get real people on YouTube are surprisingly nicer than you might think, at least in my experience. And so I think if I had known that a year ago, that would make me feel a little bit more confident with starting my channel and would have helped during that initial period when I was mainly getting these spammy comments. And I also want to mention this because at this point in this video, some of you are probably wondering why in the world would anyone become a content creator, especially a small one, and like, why am I still here on YouTube, given that I don't make any money off of this? And the fact of the matter is the positive comments and engagement on YouTube is the thing that really, at least for me, has kept me going. It feels really great when people say that your video has really helped them or that they just enjoy watching it because it's calming and soothing. For me, I got into this space because I personally love watching these sorts of videos on YouTube. And especially with COVID, I really enjoyed watching this sort of content for relaxation purposes. So even if I wasn't interested in any of the products people were talking about, I liked watching these sorts of videos just because nothing bad really happens in beauty review videos. Worst comes to worst, the product didn't work that well. But overall, it's a pretty calming subset of the YouTube genre. And because the videos are about the products, it's not so much about look how amazingly beautiful or put together this person is. It's just about makeup therapy and playing around with products and hopefully enjoying the products you're playing around with. So ever since creating a channel, I have been extremely appreciative of all of you who have left kind and supportive comments on my videos. It really makes all the difference in terms of your experience as a content creator. So the next lesson I have about engagement will kind of sound like the converse of what I just talked about. So this lesson is that even though most people on YouTube are extremely nice in the comments, the few mean comments that you get will stick with you and become the worst part of being on YouTube. So everyone deals with hate differently, and so I know some folks are able to just kind of let it slide, but I do think this is a pretty common experience on YouTube. I have watched videos from Jenna Fraze and Michelle Wong saying similar things, that even though they are pretty big content creators right now and the comments they get are overwhelmingly positive, the few negative comments they get are still hard to ignore. And even though I'm a much smaller content creator, I can definitely say that that's how my experience has been. On the plus side, I think starting a YouTube channel has taught me the importance of developing a thicker skin, and that's something I am working on. But it still is tough because the reality is that when people see content creators, they often make a lot of assumptions about them, that you are making a lot of money, that you're trying to make yourself out to be this huge makeup expert or something, that you're trying to make people buy all these products. So there's like a lot of these assumptions people have that often make them see you in a negative light and often make them very judgmental. So I think that's where some of the anger and vitriol comes from in some of these comments. But the reality is that most content creators are just people in their own rooms filming some content that they hope people will like. Most of us are not making much, if any, money off these videos and are sharing this content not so much as we are these high and mighty experts, but instead just trying to share our personal experience and enthusiasm about these products. So it can be pretty hurtful when you're spending a lot of time, money, and energy creating content, and then these people here and there just feel like they need to tear you down a few notches. As I said previously, fortunately, this is a really small percentage of the overall comments that I get. And so I'm not complaining at all in terms of the overall quality of the comment section. But this is something that did surprise me a little bit in terms of just how hard it would be to take some of these comments, even though they're few and far between. So I just wanted to share that because if you're a new content creator and you spent the past weekend feeling upset over somebody's comment, just know that you're not alone. And based on what I've read online, really this is an extremely common experience regardless of where on YouTube you are. By virtue of being a content creator, people are going to see you as being in a position of power regardless of how big your platform is. Some people are just going to want to take people down a notch, and it's not about you, your personality, or what you did or didn't do. It's always going to happen in one way, shape, or form. So it seems like part of the key to sticking around on YouTube is getting to the point where you can focus on the bigger picture, which is overwhelmingly positive, instead of on the negativity. So the last lesson I want to share in the engagement section is about numbers. So YouTube, Instagram, and other social media platforms put a lot of emphasis on numbers and analytics. But I think the healthiest way to proceed as a content creator is to try your best to ignore the numbers, even though it's extremely difficult to do so. So when I was starting out, and honestly still to some extent nowadays, I would feel really happy or sad just based on really small changes in numbers. So if I saw that my subscriber count went down, I would feel really sad. I would wonder, what did I do wrong? Did I offend someone? Why did someone leave? And then conversely, if my numbers went up by a few, I would be really excited. I would be like patting myself on the back. I'd be really happy. And I think this fixation on numbers, it's what makes social media often a really toxic environment. Because the reality is that it externalizes your locus of control. At that point, whether you're happy or sad just depends on millions of random strangers and whether they happen to come across your channel and like your videos. And you don't want to tie your feelings of self-worth to things that are just really out of your control. The reality is that the YouTube algorithm, even though it's kind of like your manager or agent, is not that nuanced. It doesn't really know if your video is good quality. All it knows is how much people are engaging with it. And so just because one of your videos does really poorly, it's not at all a reflection upon you or the caliber of content that you're putting out. Now that I've been on YouTube for a year, if I look back upon the videos that have done well versus haven't, there's not a really strong correlation between how good I think the videos were and how well they did, which is a little bit disappointing. Like some videos that I put a lot of time and effort in and I thought were really good quality videos just didn't really do that well, whereas other videos that I filmed really quickly and edited really quickly and just put out there sometimes ended up blowing up and doing really well. And I'll talk a little bit more in the next section about the factors that lead to videos doing well versus not. But just know that the numbers are really noisy, and if you spend too much time focusing on the numbers, it can become a really unhealthy environment. And ultimately, with any of these platforms, I think the most important thing is that you're having fun, you're enjoying yourself while you're producing content, and that you keep at it. So now with engagement out of the way, let's talk about content. So one of the biggest things that I learned over the past year is that one of the most important factors in terms of whether your content does well has nothing to do with the content itself, but rather the timing of it. And what I mean by that is the number one way within the beauty product review niche of YouTube to get a lot of views is to get your video out before anyone else does about that product category. So my first video that got more than 1,000 views was my Beautylish Lucky Bag review video. And this came only a month or so into me starting a channel. So most of my videos up until that point only had like 10 or so views. But because the shipping for my Lucky Bag just happened to be really fast, and because I filmed, edited, and uploaded that video really quickly, it just so happened that it was in one of the very early waves of videos about Lucky Bags, and it came out before most people had gotten their own Lucky Bags in the mail. So lots of people were searching for Lucky Bags and interested in spoilers about what might be in them. And the reason that timing is so important is when you are a super tiny content creator, the vast majority of views that you're going to get are not from your subscribers. They're from people who are searching for the names of the products and then happen to come across your video. And so because you're so small, if there's a lot of people who have already uploaded videos about that product, you might not even show up in the Google search results. But if you're one of the very few who has uploaded a video, then the fact that you're really small doesn't necessarily preclude you from showing up in the results. And so a lot of people can find your channel and watch your content that way. Now, the tricky thing about this though is, of course, there's a reason why it's hard to get the timing right. First off, this means you need to get the products the moment they drop, so you can't be waiting until they eventually go on sale or waiting for Black Friday or something. You have to buy them the moment they drop. And then a lot of people in the beauty community also pay for expedited shipping so they can get their products even faster. So this kind of ties back to what I was saying earlier about monetization. There are a lot of these small things where if you really want to grow your channel faster, it does pay to invest money in it. Of course, everyone's financial position is different, and so you have to be really careful with budgeting to see how much are you willing to allocate in order to get the timing right and get the videos out fast. For me, I have mostly not really done this. So if you guys are relatively new to my channel, you know that I've been buying a ton of stuff in the Black Friday sales. Typically, I do try to buy makeup on sale, and with a few small exceptions, such as some of the Pat McGrath releases this year, I have mostly not bought the products the moment they drop. That has definitely taken a toll though in terms of engagement on my channel, because once a product has been out for a while, it's really old news and no one is really searching for it anymore. The second lesson regarding content that I want to talk about is it's really helpful before you start a channel and also as you're developing your channel to periodically check in with yourself about your resourcing and to be really strategic with that. And when I say resourcing, I both mean the amount of money you're spending on your channel, but also the amount of time that you're spending. Because the reality is that a YouTube channel is kind of like a baby. It will take as much of your time or money that you are willing to invest in it. There's really no end. But you can easily get into a bad situation where you are spending way too much money or way too much time on your channel. It's no longer fun and you're just questioning, why are you even doing this? So it's good occasionally to just stop, take a step back, and think carefully about these aspects. Similar to what I was talking about with timing, pretty much every aspect of having a beauty review channel on YouTube does improve with more time and money. And so you'll be incentivized to pour as much of yourself into this as possible. For example, you might get to the point where you feel like, you know, I have enough makeup and I want to just go on a low buy and just create content with my existing products. Doing that probably will lead to a hit in the amount of engagement that you have, because it's just much harder for people to find your content if you're doing shop my stashes or makeup looks using a lot of your old products. Again, people are mostly searching for the names of new product releases. And so that's why I say it's just really important for you to be very deliberate about what you're doing, because you might be very tempted, if you see your viewership numbers declining, to stop your low buy and then start going out and buying a lot of new releases again. So set out a plan and try to stick to it as much as possible. So we're almost in the home stretch now. So the last category of lessons that I want to share were about filming and editing. So I could do an entire series of videos exclusively on this topic, because the reality is that as much as when you watch YouTube videos, it seems like it's mainly about the products and about the makeup, when you actually start making content yourself, you have to learn so much about filming and editing. And this was a big lesson to me when I got started, because as I mentioned, I got started basically just by using the front of my iPhone to film some videos super casually, just for fun. But when I decided to actually start putting content on YouTube, I was like, okay, I need to actually edit these videos now. And once I started editing the videos, I realized that there's just A, so much time that goes into editing, and B, once you start editing your videos, you start noticing all these problems with the videography. So even if you had zero interest in videography, photography beforehand, the moment you start trying to put your content out there, you realize, oh yeah, you need to think about the lighting, you need to think about your camera settings. Things just look so off so easily. And so a lot of your time, money, and energy actually ends up going not to the products and the makeup and the content itself, but to all of the stuff that goes into making the content look good. So the first lesson I wanted to talk about regarding filming and editing is lighting. For any of you out there who are photography buffs, this is going to sound extremely obvious, but lighting is incredibly important when you are filming YouTube videos. I had no idea about this because when I watched YouTube videos, part of what attracted me to this beauty product review space is I thought, well, these videos seem kind of easier to film. They're just sitting in one place, usually the same place, and just filming themselves from one angle. And so I thought, okay, yeah, I can do that. That sounds relatively easy. But I remember when I first got started and watched some videos about people's setup, the thing that really surprised me the most was just how much people used lighting. And so if you watch beauty YouTubers videos about their setup, the most common setup is that people will have a big ring light around their camera, then they'll have two soft boxes either side of them, and then they'll have some lights illuminating their background. And when I first got started, that just seemed so extra. I was like, I'm just gonna use natural lighting because why not? I have a window in front of me, I'm just gonna use the sun. That'll be totally fine. And to be fair, that was fine for a little while, but I realized it's extremely hard to film with just natural lighting because the lighting conditions are just constantly changing. It's getting brighter, it's getting darker, there are clouds coming in and out. The coloration of the light is often changing as well. There's just so many factors that once you go back and edit, it can look really jarring to have the lighting constantly changing. At least for my channel, when you guys see a video that's 20 to 30 minutes long, it usually takes me at least 2 hours to film that video. There's a lot of stuff that I cut out where I'm not talking or where I'm just preparing swatches, washing off swatches, or where I'm trying to figure out what exactly I want to say in the video. So there's a lot of stuff that you guys don't see. And what that means is when I'm editing it down, sometimes it'll look like the lighting conditions are just changing by the second, and they're not actually changing by the second. That clip was probably several minutes long rather than just several seconds, but once it's edited down, it does look really jarring. Also, if you're filming with natural light, you are just so dependent on the time of day and the weather conditions, and so it can make it really difficult to film on your own schedule. For me, I have a full-time job, so I can only film on weekends generally. And so eventually it did get to a point where I did need to start investing in some lights myself. So now I do have one small ring light and then a softbox and then a LED light to illuminate my background. But that is something I did want to mention because you can get decent quality lights pretty inexpensively. And I will link in the description box a YouTuber who creates really great content about filming setups. And so if you are a new beauty creator, I would highly recommend checking out her videos. and she does give some great recommendations for more affordable options for lighting. But lighting is definitely something you want to invest in relatively early. It's a lot cheaper to buy a softbox for like $50 than to upgrade your phone. And you can use your smartphone for a very long time to create content as long as you figure out your lighting situation. For me, I used my smartphone pretty much up until a couple months ago when I finally got a DSLR camera. And I would say my videos on the smartphone were definitely not the best quality, but they were still decent enough considering how small my channel was. Speaking about cameras though, the second lesson that I have about filming and editing is that camera settings and audio are extremely important and will take a while to figure out if you are starting a channel. Of course, if you are already a major videography buff, this does not apply to you. But if you are someone who's just buying a camera for the first time for creating YouTube content, there's a lot that goes into it that you might not realize in order to have your pictures just look normal. And I put normal in quotation marks because I think a major misconception I personally had as a photography noob when I got into this space is I thought that if I just wanted the products and myself to look totally natural, I didn't want any filters, I didn't want anything fancy, that it would be really simple. I could just kind of turn on the camera, have everything on auto mode, and just film. Unfortunately, it's actually a lot more complicated than that. So first off, if you're transitioning from using a smartphone to a camera that is not a camcorder, chances are the video quality is going to be a lot worse on your camera than on your smartphone. This at least was my experience in going to a DSLR. I basically could not use the audio that was built into the camera because the sound of my lens focusing was just really loud, and because the microphone in the camera is around where the lens is, you would just constantly hear the sound of my camera refocusing. And so for the first month or so when I had my DSLR, I basically couldn't use it for filming videos because I needed to figure out the audio situation. You might have noticed at some point that I got this little lavalier mic, and the reason for that is this is the most affordable solution I could find that would ensure that the mic was just picking up my voice instead of the sound of the camera lens. And so if you are investing in a DSLR, I would suggest figuring out the audio alongside that. The other aspect of this is if you are using external audio, which as I mentioned, you probably will have to, unfortunately, that means you can no longer shoot in auto mode. And if you're like me and you are not a photography buff, it is a learning curve to learn how to shoot in manual, because what that means is you actually have to fine tune all of the settings yourself. You have to pick the shutter speed, the aperture, all of these settings by yourself, and also pick things like the saturation, the sharpness. There's all of these things that go into setting up your camera that no one really teaches you how to do, and you just kind of have to search on YouTube for whatever advice you can find. And so it's actually quite difficult to get to the point where your videos just look normal, like someone is just sitting in your room with you and watching you put on makeup. Some of you might have seen this progression with my own videos. There was definitely this phase when I switched over to the DSLR where things were really wonky with my camera settings because I was still very much figuring it out. And in some of those videos, especially the auto white balance is just totally off, or it's changing constantly throughout the video. I think now, a couple months into using this camera, I have figured out settings that are at least dependable for me. I'm not going to claim that I have the best camera settings ever by any stretch of the imagination, but I think I've at least figured things out enough that my videos don't look terrible now. But in case you were watching my videos and wondering what was going on, that adjustment period is why things were looking kind of strange for a while. So the last lesson that I want to share in this filming and editing section is that editing is very hard and very time consuming. In fact, if you start a channel, you'll probably spend more time on editing than on anything else for your channel. And that for me was definitely a learning process because I personally hate editing. It's by far my least favorite aspect of making content. And so it was really hard for me when I first started putting content on YouTube to have to spend so much time on iMovie just trying to cut down my video and make it look nice and presentable. Of course, how you edit your videos is totally a matter of personal preference. But even if you want to keep your editing super simple, which is what I've always tried to do, I thought, let me just do like the bare minimum editing and just get the videos out. Even if you're doing that, it probably still will take a lot of time because let's say you have 2 hours of raw footage, which at least for me is typically the case for each video. You actually need to watch a decent amount of that 2 hours in order to cut out the relevant bits. You don't need to watch all of it, but it'll probably take you at least an hour just to take the first pass and cut out any extraneous bits. Then you need to actually watch and edit the cut down footage at least once or twice to do additional tweaks and also to add in any other content like pictures or text that I want in the video. So all of that ends up taking a couple additional hours. And so I would say overall, in terms of creating a video, for me at least, there's usually 2 hours of filming and then at least 3 hours of editing the video and then around an hour to make the thumbnail and description box. So if you're starting a new channel, it's worth getting up to speed on how to use some sort of editing software. If you have a MacBook, iMovie comes for free. I know bigger content creators typically use Final Cut Pro because that gives you a lot more functionality. But it is good to take some time, watch some tutorials, and learn how to edit your movies. Just note that this will likely become a big part of your time as a content creator. So if you really hate editing, you're gonna have to balance that against how much you like producing content. So those are all of the lessons that I wanted to share from my 1 year on YouTube and 100 videos. I would say my overall takeaways from all of this are twofold. So if you are a content creator or an aspiring content creator, think really carefully about your motivations for starting a channel and also what you want to accomplish with it. Monetization is a lot harder than it looks, so you probably don't want to start a channel just for that. Instead, ideally, you should be creating content because you really enjoy it, and hopefully monetization will eventually come. If you are instead someone who is just watching a lot of content on YouTube, hopefully this gives you more of a sense of what happens behind the scenes. Overall, there's a lot that goes into producing content on YouTube that most people don't necessarily know. At least I definitely didn't know before creating a channel. And so I hope that this video has been illuminating. If you are a content creator, I would love to hear in the comments below about your experience. Has any of what I talked about today resonated with you, or have you had a really different experience? And if you're not a content creator, I would love to hear if you learned anything new from this video. Was there anything that surprised you? So thank you all so much for joining me today. And if you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel. Thank you all so much for the support, and I'll catch you next time. Bye!